Welcome to the Airbnb Roadmap, the podcast designed to navigate you through the entire journey of short-term rental success. Whether you're just starting out or ready to take your hosting game to the next level. My husband and I became super hosts within just months of launching our first Airbnb and have proudly kept that title ever since. With over 350 reviews and an overall 4.95 star ratings, we picked up a hack or two I'm excited to share with you. In each episode, I break down the strategies, insights, and industry secrets that set profitable short-term rentals apart. From choosing the right property, understanding local regulations, and obtaining your listing to go beyond just the basics. I'm here to share everything you need to succeed. So if you're ready to map out your path to Airbnb success and unlock the full potential of short-term rentals, join me on the Airbnb Roadmap. Your journey starts here. Hey, I'm Brittany Wenninger with From Porch Realty, powered by Real Broker LLC, and welcome back to another episode of the Airbnb Roadmap Podcast. Life update. Here we go. Well, I told you about the amazing guest that only stayed for one night and kind of messed up our property, aka put a hot pot on our laminate countertop. Well, we're still trying to get money, unfortunately, which the weird thing is that she said that she is willing and able to pay for the damages. And we're not asking like a crazy amount of money. Well, I think because it is over like the normal amount, then it goes into the Airbnb like special team shenanigans, and at that point it's a whole nother ball game when it comes to that. So got a nice email saying, hey host, we want to help you out, we're gonna help you out, but you do need to provide this information. We need photos, like if you have additional photos that you didn't upload before, if they're timestamped, even better. We also need a quote that has the business name, business ID number, phone number, logo, like a legit quote from a legit company. And then from there, then we could escalate this and then get you your money. Well, that all sounds like fine and dandy, right? But when I originally, I was in the time crunch, I was literally on the plane. I found the quote from online. It doesn't have like a legit company's name, just like a random estimator that I found online. So I am reaching out to a couple of our handymen just to see like, hey, like, can you write us this quote so I can just give it to Airbnb because they need it? And are we actually going to get the countertop replaced? We will eventually, but right now it's just not really in the budget. So we are, this sounds so janky and like would not advise, I guess, but we are putting a paper towel holder on the area that the burn mark is on. So it's kind of in like an awkward position, but at least it's kind of like hiding it instead of being like, hey everyone, like look at this burn mark. So we will get replaced eventually. Just right now it's just not really in the cards, but that's life. Sometimes you have to like just go with the flow and then replace when you can, and that's exactly what's going to happen for this countertop. And like I'm still so buttered about this. Like you were there for one day and it just like totally like jacked up our whole property. So not cool. But on the positive side, it's going to be like 20/30 degrees for, hopefully the time being of the rest of the winter. So this whole like negative weather hopefully is behind us, because that put a toll on so many of our properties. Yes, they are insulated. Yes, they, they're good quality properties, but no house on earth is ever equipped for negative 45 degrees. Like it's not a thing. So I'm happy that those negative degrees are behind us and I don't have to panic about frozen pipes or a guest accidentally leaving a door open and then our whole property being screwed. So even though you can automate all like your whole business, you will still be stressed out about some just random knick-knacky stuff that, if you live 2, 3, 4, 5 hours away, you can't really keep an eye on it. But it's also kind of nice when those properties are further away because you won't be going there like every single day to check up on it. It's forcing you to kind of get outside of your comfort zone and, not be so afraid of okay, this isn't happening. I need to go there right now. It forces you to actually contact the necessary people to fix that or clean that or do whatever you need to do. It forces you to actually be a manager instead of just quickly doing everything yourself. Because I will admit, one of our properties is only 45 minutes away from us. It is our baby. That's the cabin that we spend most of our time at in the summertime. We love going there. So we do a lot of maintenance stuff with that one just because it's so close and the maintenance stuff is so easy. And I don't think that we trust people with the property, to be honest, because it's so unique. So that was just kind of a really side tangent. But anyways, another note. So this is why this episode came up. And this episode is all about Airbnb cancellation. We are not talking about Vrbo. We are not talking about booking.com, just Airbnb. What happened was we actually had a midterm guest stay at the property. I was so stoked about this because the property is set up as midterm. It's a great opportunity for traveling nurses and all that stuff. Got a doctor there. He was like, yep, I'll be there for 3 months. We agreed on a great price. Well, he only stayed there for 2 weeks, everyone. Just 2 weeks. And I was really upset when he sent me a alteration, and I shouldn't do air quotes, and I'm sure that you didn't see it in your car, but I did a air quote for alterations. And he wanted to alter his stay to check out on February 1st. He checked in January 18th, so not that long of a stay. And the difference was a positive 800. And I was like, you know what, I'm happy that there's a positive difference, but also we are holding up our side of the bargain. You need to hold up on your side. I'm not going to accept this because why would I? We reserved this property for you for 3 months. Our calendar was blocked off for 3 months for you. And now you just want to alter to just check out 2 weeks after your check-in? I'm sorry, but no. So I actually did it in a very tactic way. I saw that he wanted to alter, and I messaged him saying, oh no, I hope it's not anything that we did on our end. We love having you as a guest. Is there anything that we did? And I worded it differently, but that was pretty much the gist. And he pretty much said, the stay was absolutely amazing. Nothing that you guys did on your end. I just, need to check out a little bit sooner. The job at the hospital is now complete. So I pretty much said hey, is there anything that we did on our end? Because I knew that we have been amazing hosts for him. And he said no. And then that was my ammo that if he were to call Airbnb and say hey, Airbnb, this person's not accepting my alteration, I can't stay here anymore. It was a horrible stay. They can be actually, no, it was not a bad stay. You literally said that it was a good stay. So that was kind of just ammo for us to say we did nothing wrong. However, I did not read, and this is on me, I did not read the cancellation policies prior to accepting him overall because we've never done midterm, ever. Do I like midterm? I'm kind of liking it, to be honest. But I didn't realize that there was a long stay cancellation policy that's different from short stay. And that's something that we're going to go through today. But I didn't know that. And I didn't realize that he could just cancel and get some of his money back. And we'll go through it later on. But like, it was a lot of, I don't want to say shenanigans because there's nothing that he did wrong. His job ended early at the hospital. He needs to check out sooner. But I will say, by me rejecting his alteration was a great move on my end. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But let's actually get into what we are talking today, and that's all about Airbnb cancellations. So for today, I will actually be reading the Airbnb cancellation policies and then digesting it from there, because I will admit it's one of those things that get very confusing. They dumbified it, but you still have to read it word by word, line by line, to make sure that what you are actually saying is, or reading, is actually making sense to you. And I promise you that when people start to cancel on you and you're kind of like the WTF mode, you'll probably going to be going back into the Airbnb website, making sure that you understand that cancellation policy, and then going from there, because all of our properties are on the moderate cancellation policy. Now, there have been times that I would love to make it more strict, because I'm like, this is so uncool, WTF, and I was just mad at the world. But if I'm thinking as a guest and I see that very like firm cancellation policy, that would honestly kind of scare me and be like, damn, like I might be like SOL. So let's go through every single one. And there are two types of cancellation policies. There's the short stays, so everything under 27 nights or fewer, and then the long stays, which is 28 nights or more. I was not familiar with the long stays, and now I'm very familiar after talking to Airbnb for a very long time, just to get a grasp on it. So let's go through the short stay cancellation policies first. I will read them, we'll digest, and then mosey on with our episode. So the very first one, well, before we get to that, actually, in October of 2025, Airbnb actually changed the cancellation policy for all of the policies, actually. And what that actually means is, well, let me actually just read it to you. Your standard cancellation policy applies to all reservations of 27 or fewer consecutive nights. All standard cancellation policies will include a 24-hour cancellation period, allowing guests to cancel for a full refund for up to 24 hours after the reservation is confirmed, as long as the reservation was confirmed at least 7 days before check-in based on the listing local time. Select hotels are exempt from the 24-hour free standard cancellation period. So pretty much what was happening was, like I would say like a year ago, there was a lot of people that were quote unquote accidentally booking the reservations and then saying like, oh my gosh, how do I cancel? They were now contacting Airbnb customer support. They didn't know how to cancel. They need to backtrack it. Also, this was a Airbnb finance nightmare because there's so much money going in and out just based off of the cancellations. So this just kind of helped them out, being like, hey, you can get free cancellation. Keep our hosts happy by just like making this a firm rule, and then you can get your money back. Because back then a lot of the guests didn't know how to cancel, and then they would ask us hosts, being like, oh my god, I don't know how to cancel, can you cancel for me? And then, oh, there goes your super host status because now you just canceled on guests. Side note, never cancel on the guest. Always have the guest cancel. Do not do that for them, because your superhost status is now at risk. So if anyone's like, hey, can you help me cancel? Just say, call customer service or look up how to cancel on Google. Like, it's pretty easy, actually. So I've actually had a lot of people, and I don't want to say a lot, it's more like a handful a year, saying, oops, I accidentally double booked. I didn't know that my friend booked another Airbnb. I need to cancel. And then it would just kind of be like a cancellation nightmare. So now they have 24 hours free cancellation. Guests are happy, hosts are happy, everyone's happy. So that was after October of 2025. So the flexible policy, and let's read it word for word. Guests can cancel until 24 hours before check-in for a full refund, including taxes, and you will not be paid. If they cancel after that, they'll receive a refund of prorated taxes, and you'll be paid for each night they stay plus one additional night. So, this is the most guest-friendly policy Airbnb offers. If a guest cancels even 25 hours before check-in, you get paid nothing. If they cancel late or leave early, they get paid for the nights they stayed plus one additional night. This policy works best for like the high demand properties, last minute booking markets. Like, this gives hosts the least protection. So if the guest was like, hey, I want to book for 2 weeks and I want a special price because it's 2 weeks, and you have your listing at the flexible policy, then they can cancel up to, well, if it's hour number 25 before the check-in, they get everything for free, and now you just kind of blocked your calendar for 2 weeks, and now you have nothing. Or they check in, they stay for one night, and they're like, I actually want to mosey on. Thanks for giving me that discounted price. They could cancel early. They pay for what they stayed plus one additional night, and then they mosey on. So if you are a guest and you do that to a host, that's just kind of shitty, to be honest. Please don't do that because that's not cool. Anyways, this is the moderate policy. This is the one that we have all of our properties in, and I debate if I want to be stricter or not. Pretty much once a month I have this little conversation in my head of, do I want to be strict or not? Anyways, it reads, guests can cancel until 5 days before check-in for a full refund, including taxes, and you won't be paid. If they cancel after that, they'll receive a refund of prorated taxes, and you'll be paid for each night they stay, plus one additional night, plus 50% of, 50% for all unspent nights. So let's take, for example, that 2-week shenanigans. They check in, they stay for 2 nights, they cancel, then they will be paying for 3 nights actually, plus 50% of the existing reservation stay. So I don't think that that's bad. I think it's a good balance of, getting people actually through the doors, they're booking, and it gives us some protection as well. Sometimes I actually think as a guest, and I think, okay, like, what would a guest think? And if I see a listing that is a strict policy or a cancellation policy that doesn't really give me the flexibility that I would like, I'll probably mosey on, because yes, when I'm booking a stay, I'm very like, yes, I want to stay there, let's go. But things do happen. Sometimes, family member gets sick and then I have to cancel. I don't want to pay for 2 weeks and not be able to get some of the money back. And yes, as a host, that's kind of crappy, but it's true. Like, you kind of have to think both ways. So if I saw, again, a strict policy, I think that I would kind of lean away from that reservation, that listing, because I'm like, that's a little scary. So that's why I haven't switched it yet. And that's why I'm just probably going to remain as the moderate cancellation policy, because it does give those guests the flexibility while also protecting me, and I still get 50%. So let's move on to the limited policy. This one is guests can cancel until 14 days before check-in for a full refund, including taxes, and you won't be paid. If they cancel between 7 and 14 days before check-in, but after the 24-hour cancellation period, you'll receive 50% refund, including full taxes, and you'll be paid 50% of all nights if they cancel less than 7 days before check-in. You'll receive a refund of prorated taxes, and you'll be paid 100% of all the nights. So the limited policy is pretty much, I don't want to say best of both worlds, but it's kind of taking the moderate and strict policy and combining it. So it's not as strict and it's not as guest friendly for the moderate. So with this one, it is once you hit the 7 days before check-in, you are being paid in full, even if the guest cancels. So again, 2-week example, guest checks in. Guess what? They have to pay for the full 2 weeks. Even if they do that, if they cancel 7 days, or let's just say 5 days before the check-in, they still owe you 100%. Now, let's say that they cancel between the 7 and 14 days. So they cancel on 10 days before their check-in. Then you will be getting 50% of the total night stays. So that one's kind of layers. I do like that one. However, I do know that things do pop up, usually like 2 or 3 days before a check-in, and the guest gets really pissed if they have to pay the full. So for the firm policy, this one is pretty strict. Guests can cancel until 30 days before check-in for a full refund, including taxes, and you won't be paid. If they cancel between 7 and before check-in, but after the 24-hour cancellation policy, you'll receive 50% refund, including full taxes, and you'll be paid 50% of all nights. If they cancel less than 7 days before check-in, they'll receive a refund of prorated taxes, and you'll be paid 100% of all the nights. So pretty much if they cancel less, like let's say 5 days before check-in, they owe you everything. If they cancel 15 days before check-in, they owe you 50% of the whole stay. So that's not, I don't know, it's just one of those things that, like, you never know when things pop up. If I'm speaking as a guest and I see that, I'm gonna be like, ooh, like that's a little scary, because you don't know what's gonna happen, especially if it's a place that's only 2 hours away and you have a sick kid at home. You're probably not going to take that very sick kid on vacation. You're probably going to cancel and then take care of the sick kid. So as tempting as the firm policy is, I also believe that Airbnb favors the listings that are more giving to the guest. Because let's admit, Airbnb favors a lot of listings, especially if it's going toward the guest, like helping the guest more than yourself. And when you have a firm policy, I can 100% see Airbnb bumping your listing down that list on maybe like page 3 or 4 or 5 because your policy is so strict. So I'm at the moderate. Would I consider limited? Yes, to be honest. I think it's kind of best of both worlds of moderate and the firm policy. But I also know that all of our properties are on page 1 of Airbnb, and I don't really want to mess with that, to be honest. Now let's go into the long stays. Long stays is all the reservations that are 28 nights or more. and they are treated almost kind of like a lease. So there are two different types of long-term cancellation policies. You have firm and then you have strict. So when someone's like, hey, I want to stay there for 3 months, but I want each reservation to be 27 nights, tell them no, don't do it. Do 28 or more. And there is a big reason for this. Now, I'm going to read the firm long-term policy right now. To receive a full refund, including taxes, guests must cancel at least 30 days before check-in. If a guest cancels after that, they'll receive a full refund of taxes, and you'll be paid 100% of all the nights spent, plus 30 additional nights. If fewer than 30 nights remain on the reservation when the guest cancels, they'll receive a prorated refund of taxes, and you'll be paid 100% of all of those remaining nights. This is huge. So when I called Airbnb, I was really pissed because he only stayed there for 2 weeks and we were owed literally, I think it was $6,000 or $7,000. He canceled and now our calendar opened up. There's no bookings because guess what? We had it reserved for him. What the Airbnb representative, I'll admit, she was kind of hard to understand. And I didn't realize that I'm still getting paid 30 days after the cancellation, which means that I could double dip for the 30 days. So for 30 days, all of the reservations that I get are just kind of like a cherry on top. So actually awesome. The calendar actually opened up yesterday and I just got a 5-night booking for that property. And now that's just, $600 extra cherry on top because Airbnb is, the guest is paying us for the extra 30 nights. Now, something very important to realize is that if I were to have accepted his alteration, he wanted to alter his reservation to check out February 1st, and I accepted that, I would have been out a couple $1,000s if I would have accepted that. I know that there was a positive, I don't want to say balance, but there was a positive proration of saying hey, you'll get $800 more if you accept this or whatever because how the system works. But I knew that I didn't have to accept it. And what Airbnb said is that if you reject any refunds or reject any alterations, your profile does not get penalized. That's completely your decision. They are just the mediator, pretty much. That is up to you. So once I found that out, guess what? I rejected it. I was like, hey, not my fault that you finish early. So because I did that, he had to cancel on his end and pay for the 30 additional nights, which is amazing. I'm happy about that. I'm not happy that he didn't stay the full 3 months, but you know what? It is what it is. At least I got the additional 30 nights. Now, the strict long-term policy says to receive a full refund, including taxes, guests must cancel within 48 hours of booking, and the cancellation must occur at least 28 days before check-in. If a guest cancels after that, they'll receive a full refund of taxes, and you'll be paid 100% of the nights already spent, plus the next 30 nights from the reservation. If fewer than 30 nights remain on the reservation when the guest cancels, they'll receive a prorated refund of taxes, and you'll be paid 100% of all of those remaining nights. So for this cancellation policy, the strict long-term policy It's pretty much saying that after the initial 48-hour window after they book your property, you are essentially guaranteed at least 30 nights of income, which I think is awesome. I also believe that people would kind of be afraid of that one and be like, you know what, like firm long term, I'm okay with, because with the firm long term, they can cancel. They have to cancel at least 30 days before check-in. So if they are planning ahead and they cancel, let's say 45 days before check-in, then they'll get the full refund. But honestly, like your calendar will open up and I'm sure that you're going to get bookings. With the strict, they must cancel within the first 48 hours of booking. And then if they don't, then they have to pay for 30 nights, at least 30 nights. So I think that's, I mean, just so what it said is strict. It's very strict. And like, I will admit, like my mother and father-in-law, they have been planning to go to Arizona for probably like a year now. They booked a Airbnb, I think it was like for like 2 months or something like that. And I believe that they had a firm long-term policy because she was explaining it to me. And guess what? He broke his big toe on the edge of a mattress. So he broke his big toe and they canceled their trip. And thankfully it happened, I think it happened, to be honest, 45 days before they were going to go. And they didn't have to pay a dime. So kind of crappy on the host, and I feel bad, but it's also like shit happens. He broke his big toe. He's not going to want to go on vacation and walk everywhere. Yeah, and I even for like the older folks, you know, things happen. If I saw a reservation that had the strict long-term policy, I'll probably be like, ooh, maybe not, because you know, I have 48 hours after I book to cancel to not pay a dime. So there are a lot of pros and a lot of cons to all of the cancellation policies, and you have to figure out which one makes sense for you. Is it the moderate? Is it the firm? Is it the strict? Figure that out. Also, if you have a 1 or 2 bedroom house, chances are you're going to get someone that's going to ask to stay there for a couple months. So you want to make sure to actually know what those policies are for the long-term stays as well. So if you have any questions, let me know. I also have a Airbnb resort for sale. Yes, for sale, a whole resort. It's 5 cabins, 1 duplex. It's on the bluff. The views are absolutely amazing. Before, I was just selling the duplex and 1 cabin. Now it's the whole resort, and it's literally turnkey. If you know anyone that's interested in a Airbnb resort and purchasing one in the amazing bluffs of Wisconsin, let me know, because this is a amazing opportunity because there's no amenities on this resort. There's so much potential to, I don't want to say up, like, well, there's a lot of potential to increase your ADR 100%. You can add hot tubs, saunas, you know, host weddings. He wasn't even hosting weddings. So there's so much opportunity. If you know anyone, please reach out to them. I would love to sell it to a Airbnb Roadmap listener. That would be so amazing. So spread the word. And if you want more information on it, let me know. Also, another thing is that our amazing discount for the courses is now unfortunately done. But if you are still interested, it's still under a $500 price tag. Like, it's still really dirt cheap. So don't forget to look into that, sign up for that. It's literally like everything I learned from courses that cost thousands and thousands of dollars is in this very cheap course, because I don't believe in price gouging. So look into that. And as always, if you need an Airbnb specialist, you know, as always, if you need a Airbnb agent in any state, I have the hookups all around. So let me know. I'll get you hooked up with the specialist. There's a big difference between a normal real estate agent and one that specializes in STRs. So reach out, check me out on Instagram, and I will see you in the next episode of the Airbnb Roadmap Podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Airbnb Roadmap. If you're loving these episodes and want to keep the conversation going, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who's ready to dive into the world of short-term rentals. Got a question or topic you would love to hear about? Reach out. This podcast is all about learning and growing together. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the Airbnb Roadmap Podcast, for more tips, tricks, and behind-the-scene insights. Until next time, here's to turning your short-term rental dreams into thriving realities. I'll see you back here soon.